Why, hello there. I didn't see you come in. My name is Bucky O. Buck Neely. I got a little story to tell you all today. So please come in and sit down on my polar bear rug as I pull out my dusty old book of yams. I hope you all enjoy this little story, as it's a little tale of an as old as time and will make you question life as a whole new world. This is a story of how the Trix Rabbit lost his cool and turned crazy. Most of you are aware about the Trix Rabbit, who is the titular mascot for the Post cereal Trix. Despite it being the company's mascot, Trix can somehow never get its paws on any Trix cereal. This is because that the kids on the adverts, he appears to always go on the way to stop for him from getting his precious cereal. Trix was also so desperate of his cereal that he once slotted an alliance with Bugs Bunny. Sadly, Bugs was right. Was a right a-hole, and ate all the Trix for him like some sort of manonary. The closest Trix ever getting to its precious cereal was when he killed a small-time cook Nate Bennett and then rode a skin in disguise. A tactic taught to a Trix by Slivering family. Anyways, the plan failed because Trix Rabbit didn't have any milk in his apartment. Why don't he just buys them from the store? He ain't gotten no clue, sorry. But that's not how to say it. Trix was always lost as he came on top at the end. Yes, only once. Trix won a massive race as a walnut passed and tried eating some Trix. Sadly, the judge of the competition was Judge Claude Frollo, who launched himself in the purge and the voice of Vincent Sin. Frollo hated Trix and glared at what the rabbit did with a sinister glare for the entire time. Trix was eating the cereal. This was the way and the first and only time Trix ever succeeded on getting some Trix. So sad. Sorry, I just got a little something in my eye. Trix, the desire Trix cereal, was more than anything disguised. This was so confusing as to most people there were loads of other cereals yet in the world, and Trix doesn't seem to be interested in any of them. Trix's mate and fellow cereal mascot Lucky found this especially confusing. Lucky would often try to spurn Trix away from his stealing ways. "You got money, boyo? Then just buy cereal," Lucky cried as he downed a jug of good giddiness. "Oh, that poor Irish potato. No, that cereal can live up to its own taste of Trix, dear Lucky." "The orangey orange and the tasty lemon," Trix said as his mouth began to drool. "It's disgusting," Lucky muttered as he cried into his jacket. Lucky was in trouble with the cops for his drinking buddy Henry Tomaso, who turned out to be a cop informant. Over the years, Trix had become more and more desperate for his precious cereal. He was falling behind on bills. He did not care, however, as he was far more concerned on making another scheme to get Trix cereal, even at the cost of his own expenses. Trix had a list of people who he had recently bought Trix from to the Word document on his smelly laptop. He had visited most people on the list and had been not successful in stealing cereal from any of them. Trix then saw his name and he did not recognize. It was some fat, sweaty mole named Carlos who lived underground because moles do that. Trix felt like this would be his chance. Trix hid inside a bush and watched look at the garden, which had Carlos hid underneath them. He watched intently as Lap D, the detective's cold peeps, and Herschel Biggs showed up with the flasks of tea. At the moment, Carlos opened up the front door and said, "Well, come on down here, lads," Carlos then asked. "Cup of tea?" "There was a case that makes you because in that case it breaks you," Herschel said to the ground, as he was quite insane from the addiction of Chewits, Biggs, and Pelps that were led into Carlos' hole. Using a shovel, Trix dug a hole at the side of Carlos's den. Trix then crawled into the hole, only to find out that there was a wrong den. The den that even crawled into was occupied by none other man than Mr. Foxy, who runs the Foxy Bingo. Foxy Bingo is a known scam and several corrupt sons of Magra and who are supporting it. Floyd Rose, a senior of Lapidie Detective Supports. Foxy Bingo was on the payroll for free cups of tea and scones. As soon as he saw Trix, he yelled, "Welcome to my den." Trix ran out of the den while being chased by Foxy, who screamed, "I got the balls!" Thankfully, Foxy was interrupted by his lover, Damon's smelly hound, who was dressed as a massive bingo ball. "Bloomin' back the heck I came dressed up as Foxy said to Trix, as he was confused by what Foxy was anyway. Foxy was taken off guard by his lover's sudden appearance, which gave him a turn Trix Rabbit perfectly opportunity to escape to the den to the next door. His den was occupied by Lionel Richie, who was sitting and to a pack of crisps. First you, then me, share them together, extra crunchy," Lionel said. Then he noticed Trix held the crisps in the package in his face. "Oh, want to share cheesy?" Lionel sang before getting thrown out of the window by Trix. He yelled, "I want Trix, no bloody walkers." He picked up his heel and then disappearing into the den next door to Lionel's. Sadly, this was, and not correct as it seems, it did belong to a man named Solo Man Gale. Gale was forced Trix to eat something disgusting crust of bread, and even when he clearly had gotten from the trash can, despite the protests of the contrary. The moldy crust, as you might expect, Trix got a bad stomach ache. He then fainted onto Gale's sofa while Gale played Uno with his homies, Richard Fatchen and Squiddy Gross. Trix awoke from his slumber 12 hours later, and he was set fully recovered. He got up from his sofa and made his way towards the exit. However, Trix stopped dead in his tracks when he eyed open this one beautiful sight. On top of the kitchen's table sat a huge box of Trix cereal. Was so big, unlike it legit, not even the joking. It was the size of the Empire State Building. Trix licked his lips and he crept on all fours towards the box, which he seemed slowly, elegantly in the morning sun. Trix rose up from the floor and reached over to grab the box, only to get a slap on his hand by Gale Depp's collector and possible hamburger dealer with Mr. Touch. "No touchy," Mr. Touch warned about as he got 2 bowls of himself and Gale for them to eat. Trix was about thrown across the room by Solo Man, who yelled, "Yeah, you silly rabbit. Tricks are for kids." "But you're not kids. You guys are adults," Trix said, but his plea was ignored by Gale and Touch, who began digging into their cereal. They were making a real mess and they were getting crap all over the floor. "Oh, who cares? It's just cereal." Gale laughed as Trix fixed his face and turned from upset to downright mad. At the very precise moment of all rational thinking, he had left the rabbit's mind Trix and made his way to the kitchen table. Gale looked at Trix and laughed before saying, "Oh, what do you think you want now, Mr. Rabbit?" Trix responded to this and by throwing Gale onto the ground. Then he proceeded to slam his fist into Gale's cereal bowl. "Silly rabbit, Trix is for kids," Mr. Touch said as he slammed his feet into Gale's cereal as he ate the cereal from his fists. They are from," Trix yelled, but then of course he pulled out a freaking handgun and pointed at Touch's forehead. "Kids? Last time I checked on the box," Trix cried in despair. Gale meanwhile tried to stand up, which made Trix respond by shooting and killing him. Mr. Touch tried to take a break, but only just got 4 shots on the back from Trix's handgun, killing him as well. Trix lifted Gale's bowl into the air and then proceeded to pour the contents of the bowl into the gullet. Then he did the same thing to Touch's bowl before drowning the entire box of Trix. "I need more," Trix said as he reloaded his handgun before running out of the den next door. This den happened to belong to Carlos. Carlos was in his living room drinking tea with Phelps and Biggs. "I have come for you," Trix yelled as he grabbed a box of Trix and then kitchen cabinet and then began drowning it all in one go. "You silly rabbit, Trix are for..." Biggs was then cut off when Trix slammed his mighty fist of mightiness into Biggs' jaw, causing him to fall apart to the floor in sheer pain. "Get used to it, Porky. I'm fed up with being treated like dog crap. Now time to shine," Trix said as he went over to next door for some more Trix. For the next 2 hours, Trix went from around the entire garden eating Trix to his heart's content. He had never felt so alive. Phelps and Biggs began to make an urgent distress call to the police chief Worrell, who put a manhunt for Trix Rabbit. Trix made his way outside of the dens and then crept his way towards the shop, and he visited Wissett's, posing as Bennett. He then ran out to the store and then pointed the gun at the manager. "Give me all the Trix you got, Buster." Trix yelled angrily as the manager complied and quickly gave Trix all the cereal he could. Trix used a fire exit to make his way back into the streets. He stole a cab and drove down the streets of Los Angeles towards the apartment on the Yucker Street. Arriving at this apartment, Trix had himself a feast of unmentionable proportions. It was marvelous. He ate all the cereal until he heard a knock on the door. He opened the door to see that Grandpa Joe was standing there waiting to sing to him. I never thought my life could be anything but catastrophe. F you. Trix was then attempted to shut the door for Grandpa Joe yelled, Lab, freeze that! I said freeze! You were a cop, Grandpa Joe? Well, I didn't see anything, Trix muttered as a SWAT team then burst through Trix's windows. Trix ran into bathroom suit and leaped out of the window. Luckily, his apartment was on the ground floor in the complex, meaning no damage was done. He made his way down to the streets of the Loud River for tunnels. All the gang were being chased by corrupted cops, mobsters, and smelly gas men, all employed in the corrupt agency. Trix made his way throughout the house owned by a family of penguins. The Favre house could be answered on the door, and of course it was broken in Russian. Although it wasn't all broken at that, as the offer may not feel so inclined, but let me tell you what he did, 'cause I'm lazy anyways. Trix proceeded to rob the story of a family of the Trix, and all got only one out of the cereal, since it's been a long eaten day since the eldest son, Pingu. Yes, it's Pingu, Trix cried. Great, now what am I going to do now? That's when Trix remembered the house belonging to a Mayor Mendelssohn on the other side of town. Mendelssohn owned a personal stash of 50 boxes. That's where Trix needed to go. He made his way out of the house after stealing the penguin's father's car, and then drove down towards the Mayor Mendelssohn's house. Trix's car kept getting rammed into a General R. Asquith, who yelled, Stop right there, you dirty dirtbag! Trix responded by ramming into Asquith's Jeep off the side of the road before arriving at Mendy's house. Luckily for Trix, Mendy's was fishing out with his buddies Pedro and Miguel. He made his way upstairs to Menderes' room, and then which he kept all of his boxes off Trix up. Trix opened up a cupboard to find a man named Louis Sierra, who was being held captive in there. Sierra fell on the floor in pain and asked, You got smoke? Trix replied with, Have you got Trix? Suddenly loud stops could be heard outside of the bedroom as the Mendes family revealed themselves. Perfect. The big cheese, Sierra said, as he was right on Mendes stuck his moldy cheese like moldy cheese. Mendes grabbed Trix by the neck and began choking him. However, he eventually let Trix go for some reason. You remind me of Jack in the Box employee named Benjamin Sumley, so I'll let you go. Just don't F around with my Trix supply or I'll put your head on the stick. Trix then ignored Mendy's warning and then made his way downstairs, where he kept his supplies sadly. Trix learned that this was a trap all along, as the entire LAPD was down waiting for them, drinking cups of tea, while Mendes made sure about the mayor of your Reynolds. Who can keep this town running? Mayor Reynolds asked, as the LPD once again chased Trix, who then yelled, Aw, crap, here we go again. Trix was so desperate for more tricks, and he went down to a local vegan house owned by Gaston. He had read about the vegan house in the newspaper, which stank like noodles. Bad ones, though too. Inside the vegan house, Gaston was depressed, and he was suffering more severe constipation. Despite the fact Lofu trying to take him all the laxative. Gaston, you've got take more laxatives, Lofu pleaded, which sadly him saying getting slapped across the face by Gaston. Trix arrived at the beautiful site, and there was on a buffet table stood millions of boxes of Trix, which had been supplied by Gaston by Penny Pergon, the most powerful Russian mob boss in the Empire Bay. He ran towards the buffet table and only grabbed by Gaston's goons. They lifted Trix high up to the air and then pulled him all the way up to Gaston's face. No one eats Trix like Gaston drinks milk, and like Gaston, no one incredibly constipates as Gaston. The group sang as they accidentally threw Trix out of the vegan house window. Trix was getting mad, so the vegan house in the Martinez Fesco had been nothing out but filter. He needed some Trix and fast. He saw an old lady driving a minivan about 2 miles per hour. This would be his chance. He ran up to the old lady and yanked her out of the car in GTA style, and then shoot her in the head before saying, Silly Grandma, Trix are for rabbits, Trix said as he made himself comfy and said to Mimi, "Sorry, folks. Folks, this apparently can't last as long as Trix pursuers can, driving him again somehow." Trix was able to arrive at the Loud River for tunnels as the car pulled up right in front of him. Police Chief Whirl emerged from the cars and 5 more of the squads appeared from the scene. "So you finally got to the den, Tricky," Whirl said as he made his way towards Trix as thunder began to violently pour. "I guess I am, Chief, but at least I got my principles," Trix said as Whirl then picked up and got out from their cars. "You think you could just get out of the tunnels alive, do you? You think, son?" Whirl asked as Trix responded with, "I think I will, Chief. I'm a difficult rabbit to get rid of," Whirl then laughed before saying, "All right, Tricky, I'm listening. What's your offer?" As it worked just fine, Trix Rabbit was then moved up north to Yankton, which of course it was a new identity for another name, Sierra Johnson. Whirl, meanwhile, then was protected by the corruption of being exposed to the press who pressed charges against him. The deaths of the people in the tunnels was covered up in shady circumstances. Helps then tried to find out about the truth from the car, but only to cause the deaths that were only sadly get swept away by a smelly poo water. The Trix Rabbit then once was a cool rabbit, but now he's lost it. He's became part of the very thing that tried to prevent it. An addiction to the Trix cereal. He had spent his entire life trying to get the Trix cereal to the end, and it's what caused him to drove him to insanity. Readers, I recommend leaving some Trix out on your doorstep at night because rabbits can eat it. That's the only way we could truly prevent the Trix Rabbit from coming to your door with a bat. And yeah, before I forget, this story was sponsored by PG Tips. Click on the link in the description for some free tea and you'll get no tea, but a free Parker pen for inquiring. You'll also receive a free computer that doesn't work and it has a computer picture of a smelly old dude on the screen. He'll smile at you until you learn to change your ways and propose to that girl who once knew you and threw out the window 6 years ago. That's all you could truly do. Goodbye for now, readers. I'll see you in the next pasta. Oh man, I could definitely say this right now, Matthew Bumford. This story was really awesome. This episode, I have to say, was honestly funny. And that, my little pretties, was how the Trix Rabbit lost his cool. A Trix funny pasta written by Matthew Bumford. Matthew Bumford, I want to thank you so much for the story, but I honestly have to say right now, this story was obviously funny, and I can definitely say there was definitely time and effort put into the story, and that's the very most important thing. Now, the Trix cereal, I've never heard of it. Like, I might have heard from it once, but I don't really, but I've never seen it, so. But I obviously have to say it was really funny. And I can definitely say it was really funny. Like, this episode was just flat out funny. And I could definitely say, there's a lot of good cereals out there, like Reese's Puffs and stuff like that. But of course, this was just something I can definitely say. But this story was actually pretty funny. And I can definitely say there was definitely time and effort put into the story. And you did a really good job. And that's really something that I can say from you, Matthew Bumford. You did an awesome job. Now, about this story, I have to say, you did a pretty good job. Like, the grammar was good. The sentence structuring was good. The storyline of how the episode went out. Everything about it was flat out amazing. Like, I could definitely say you did a really good, awesome job. Now, everything about the story was really good. And I can definitely understand, why, cereals now these days are just not as great as they used to be. I don't understand why it's the case, but, it's kind of something to be completely honest of. And that's something I can definitely say. But other than that, this one was just flat out amazing. And I could definitely say there was time and effort put into the story. And that's the very most important thing I could definitely say. Okay. Now, I actually thought this funny pasta was actually really good. Like, everything about it was just flat out amazing. And there was, like, a lot of great stuff with it. Now, I can definitely say you did a pretty good job. And I could say there was time and effort put into this one, which I can definitely really say that you did pretty good. And that is really something I'm willing to say right now. Now I'm going to be completely honest, and you all did a really good job. And that is something I'm willing to say right now. Okay. Now, I think I kind of already, explained, what I liked about it, but you guys are all amazing, which I could definitely say this story was pretty funny. I managed to control myself from laughing yet again, because it was silly and funny. But I could definitely say, the Trix Rabbit going this far as to, threatening people with the gun, I could probably understand, some characters do that, but I don't see why anyone would do that. Well, I could definitely say this is a funny pasta, so I know it's not supposed to make a whole lot of sense. So, yeah, that's something I can definitely say. Other than that, the story was flat out amazing. There was great time and effort put into it. And I really loved it. It was really good. Now, I'm going to keep the review as short as I possibly can, but I can honestly say this story was flat out amazing. And, to be completely honest, I honestly really liked it. And it was really funny. Funny, to be completely honest. It was amazing, it was funny, and it was just flat out amazing. And that's something I can definitely say that, you did a pretty good job, Matthew Bumford. I really do commend you for that. Okay. I'm going to say this right now. This is simply my own personal opinion, and if you disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these creepypastas, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this story would have to be a 10 out of 10. It's a great funny pasta. There's time and effort put into it. Grammar's good. Storyline's awesome. The concept's great. The paragraph structuring, the sentence structuring, everything about it was flat out amazing. And I can definitely say you did a pretty good, awesome job. And that's really saying something. Okay. I think I kind of already explained, what I liked about it. So let's do so. Okay. Now, anyways, what did you all think about this funny pasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what would you have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you're brand new here to this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload. So, like always, I'll be seeing you all in the next video. Peace out and roll the outro because I'm out.